Hey everybody. I thought that the last day of new online instruction would feel a little bit different. Like most last days of school, there's kind of there's a little bit of a relief. There's a little bit of some joy. Everybody's kind of ready to start a summer. Um, and for obvious reasons, I feel like this is not that same feeling today. So I apologize in advance. It's going to be a little bit of a longer instructional video today. But the work I'm going to have you do today is not exactly, it's not a ton of work. Shouldn't take you too long. So um, sit back, watch the video before you get going. I got a list so I don't forget everything over here to make sure that I hit on everything. First thing I want to talk about, I talked a little bit on yesterday's video just to start out with. It was about the letters that I'm writing to every student. So most years, if you didn't watch yesterday's instructional video, I'll just give you a brief summary. Most years, every semester, at the end of the semester, I write individual letters to every student who's been in my class. I wanted that to be kind of my thing when I started at Evergreen, and I wanted to be something that students looked forward to. I wanted it to be something to show students that they're noticed, and to give them encouragement, and to kind of like solidify those connections that we've made over the semester. And so I decided, obviously, I was not going to skip that this semester. In fact, I think it's probably more important now than ever. So check your emails. I'm not sure when I'll have them done, but I'm just going to send them to your emails. Normally I'd hand you a hard copy, but obviously, weird times call for a change in plan. So check your emails. I'll send everybody an individual letter. The first paragraph of the letter is the same for everybody, and the last paragraph is the same, but everything in between is just for you. And you'll see what I mean when you get that. So like I said, just keep checking your email, and I'll send you something in the next week, probably, hopefully sooner rather than later. With that being said, point number two, I want to make sure that everything gets made up, everything gets turned in. The reason that we're stopping new instruction today is so that you have time to get things turned in before the end of the school year. So if you don't have things turned in and you have things left to complete, you have basically 2 weeks to get that done. So I want to open up the lines of communication. If you haven't already, you can use Remind, you can use email to get those things turned in. Also, check PowerSchool, because if there's anything, I've been keeping up for the most part on grading, with the exception of maybe the essay last week and maybe some stuff this week. Anything that you've turned in, I've been trying to get graded and put into PowerSchool. So if you have something missing from PowerSchool, make sure that gets turned in, but also let me know that you finished it and then it gets turned in. I want everyone to be as successful as they can be for the fourth quarter, and by extension the whole semester. So communicate with me. I'm here. I'm still going to be manning the station. I'll still be at my computer to check emails and Remind messages. So if you need to get in touch, I'm still here. Let's move on to today's work. So today's work, I was trying to just play off the idea of it being the end of the year and kind of saying goodbye. And I read a really interesting article in Psychology Today, and I'll let you read it. But it's entitled "Why Do We Hate Goodbyes?" And obviously, as you can kind of guess from the website, Psychology Today is a publication that focuses on psychological topics. So this one is just a little thought piece by Robert Fuller over there on the left, talking about how why maybe we as humans hate goodbyes. First of all, I'll give you a warning. It's an upper level read. It's written at a very high level. So if there's words in there you don't understand, look them up, because I think the piece is worth it. I highlighted my favorite paragraph in the whole piece, and I think it's important to kind of see this. So I'm going to read it for you. I'm going to let you read the whole piece, but I'm going to read this paragraph. It says, "Recognition is as essential to the self as nutrition is to the body. That humans are social animals understates the case. We are existentially interdependent, body and soul. Deprive us of human contact and we begin to disintegrate. That's why solitary confinement is torture." I think that's a really, really powerful statement. Again, based on somebody who understands what it means to be human and what it means to be alive, and hitting on the interdependence of body and soul, and that human contact that we need. So go ahead and read this whole piece. The tie-in here is he mentions Emily Dickinson's poem, and that's where we're going to go over to Common Lit in a second. Emily Dickinson's poem called "I'm Nobody, Who Are You?" He excerpts it here, so he uses the first 4 lines of the poem. It's only an 8-line poem. It's very short, but he excerpts it to talk a little bit about the notion of being alone versus having people, and why goodbyes can be so tough. So that's where we're going to go here in a second. So finish the Psychology Today piece. I think it's a really important read. It's not very long, so I hope you enjoy it. If you do, great. If not, either way, we're gonna kick over to Common Lit. Common Lit has the "I'm Nobody, Who Are You" poem, which I think is really cool. I found the Psychology Today post, and then I realized Common Lit had the poem too, and I'm like, we're gonna use it. So this has all 8 lines of the poem. If you notice, there's a little bit of a slight difference. Like in a lot of poetry, especially poetry that was written a long time ago, you might find slight differences. I think the word "advertise" here is slightly different here. It's banish. But what I'd like you to do is to read this poem a couple times. It's very short. I'll read it once for you here in a second, and then you're going to complete the assessment question. There's only 4, so fairly easy assignment for today. Also, before I get there, I'm sorry, I got to back up just a minute. I have this in the instructions. I do want you to give me a full paragraph reflection about the piece, okay, about the Psychology Today article about goodbyes. So give me a full paragraph reflection as a class comment, like we have, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you learned, what you thought was interesting, that sorts of things. Just reflect on that and give me a full paragraph like we've talked about before. So, sorry, I forgot to mention that. I'll jump back. Sorry, the phone's blowing up. It's getting a little, oops. Gotta silence that bad boy. All right. The poem here says, "I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too?" Then there's a pair of us. Don't tell. They'd advertise, How dreary to be somebody. How public, like a frog, to tell one's name the livelong June to an admiring bog. Again, read that a couple times to yourself. We didn't do a ton of poetry this year, but I think poetry is important in the way that it makes us feel. I think, like I said, I think short poetry is more powerful, and this one I think is a pretty powerful piece. The fourth question says, how does the speaker use diction and figurative language to portray what it's like to be a somebody, and how does this impact the meaning of the text? Diction is just the word choice that authors use, and figurative language are things like when things that are not meant to be taken literally. So, when you use a metaphor or a simile or imagery or things of that nature, you're using figurative language. So if you're struggling with those two, diction and figurative language, that's what you're looking for there. So that's going to be the assignment. So if you do the reflection as a class comment and you complete all the assessment questions here and turn that in on Common Lit, that's going to be the assignment for today. Last but not least, I do want to touch on the fact that my email and the Remind, obviously my email is always open, and I'll leave the Remind open all summer. If you just you're having a weird day and you just need to reach out to somebody, feel free to send me a message. I know that, as this poem suggests and as this reading suggests, nobody can really make it through life by themselves. And even if you think you can, unfortunately, you usually kind of figure out that you can't. So if you need something, if you just need to reach out, if you're just having a day, feel free to do that. Like I said, email and Remind are open. Believe it or not, I got into teaching because my goal has always been to help young people be better versions of themselves. And so I hope that, this semester has done that at least a little bit for you. So keep checking your email. You'll have a personal letter in there in the near future. It's been a pleasure being your teacher for this semester. I wish it didn't end like this, but I'm glad that you all, rose to the occasion in the way that you have. So have a great summer. Stay in touch. I'm hoping that in August we're back to the classrooms, back to the halls, and really, getting back to something that feels a little bit normal. So have a great summer, everybody.